If you are thinking about changing careers, choosing a major, or paying for new training, do not ask a career counselor one vague question like, "What career is right for me?" That question sounds reasonable, but it can lead to an answer based on job titles, test results, or first impressions. A better counseling session should give you three things: a short list of realistic options, evidence for why they fit, and a low risk way to test them before you make an expensive commitment. The US Bureau of Labor Statistics describes career counselors as professionals who help people evaluate their interests, skills, abilities, education, and training so they can develop realistic goals. The key word is realistic. A useful counselor should help you connect who you are with what employers actually need. Here are the questions that move that conversation in the right direction. Start with, which three roles appear to match my interests and strengths, and why? Ask for three roles, not one perfect career. There probably is not one job that uses every strength, meets every need, and remains ideal for the rest of your working life. You are looking for a promising direction, not a permanent identity. Also, focus on work activities rather than impressive titles. Someone who says, "I want a creative career," could mean they enjoy writing, visual design, solving unusual technical problems, planning events, or improving inefficient processes. Those activities lead to very different jobs. A counselor may use an interest assessment to organize this discussion. For example, the ONET Interest Profiler measures 6 broad interest areas and links the results to occupations. That can help you generate possibilities, but an assessment result should begin the investigation, not end it. If an assessment suggests an enterprising role, do not immediately conclude that you should work in sales. Ask which activities produce that result. Maybe you enjoy persuading people. Maybe you like leading projects. Maybe you enjoy negotiating resources but dislike prospecting for customers. Those distinctions matter. The next question is, what evidence from my actual experience supports each option? This prevents the session from becoming a personality quiz followed by a list of jobs. Your work history, volunteer experience, education, side projects, and repeated patterns should support the recommendation. Weak evidence sounds like, "I'm good with people." Stronger evidence sounds like, "In my customer service role, I regularly explained complicated billing issues, calmed frustrated customers, and trained 3 new team members." That second version points to communication, conflict management, instruction, and problem solving. Those abilities could transfer into customer success, recruiting coordination, training, community outreach, or operations. The counselor should help you separate the underlying skill from the job where you happen to use it. Then ask, what evidence suggests this path might not fit me? This is one of the most valuable questions because career discussions often focus only on attraction. You hear that a role matches your interests, but not that it requires tasks you strongly dislike. Suppose project management looks promising because you organize work well and communicate clearly. You should still examine the difficult parts. Can you handle frequent follow-up, competing deadlines, incomplete information, and responsibility for work you do not personally control? A good option is not one with no disadvantages. It is one whose disadvantages you understand and can reasonably tolerate. Next, ask, what does an ordinary week in this role actually involve? Do not accept an answer made entirely of words like collaboration, innovation, leadership, and impact. Ask about observable tasks. How much time is spent in meetings? How much work is independent? Is the role mostly writing, analysis, customer contact, physical activity, documentation, or coordination? Are deadlines predictable? Does the employee respond to emergencies? Is success measured through revenue, accuracy, speed, case volume, or project completion? If you are finding this practical, subscribe. This channel is about turning career advice into wording, evidence, and actions you can actually use. Now, ask about the market. The question is, what does demand for this role look like where I can realistically work? National career information is useful, but you do not apply to a national average. You apply to employers in a location, industry, or remote market. Ask the counselor to help you examine current job postings, local wage information, common employers, and the number of roles that appear to match your experience level. Look at several postings together. One unusual advertisement can mislead you. Repeated requirements reveal a pattern. You might discover that a target role exists locally, but mostly in healthcare. That means industry knowledge may matter. You might find that employers use a different title than the one you searched. Or you might learn that many openings labeled entry-level still request experience with a particular process or tool. The goal is not to predict exactly what the market will do. It is to avoid designing a career plan around jobs that are rare in your reachable market. The next question can save you a great deal of money. Ask, which training is truly required, which training is merely preferred, and which skills could I prove without another degree? Do not begin with a program and then search for a reason to buy it. Begin with the target role, study employer requirements, identify your gaps, and then compare the least expensive, credible ways to close them. Ask what evidence justifies the cost. Does the role legally require a license? Do employers consistently request a particular credential? Does the program include supervised practice, a portfolio, or access to relevant employers? Can graduates show where they were hired, or is the sales pitch built around vague possibilities? Use a simple comparison. Add tuition, fees, materials, travel, and income you may lose while studying. Then compare that cost with realistic job access, not the highest salary mentioned in an advertisement. A counselor should never guarantee that a certificate will produce a job. The better question is whether the training removes a verified barrier. Next, ask, which of my transferable skills matter most for this path, and how should I prove them? Career changers often describe transferable skills too broadly. Their resumes say things like excellent communication and leadership skills. Recruiters cannot do much with that. A stronger version would be coordinated weekly schedules for 18 employees, resolved coverage conflicts, and reduced last-minute staffing gaps by creating a shared tracking process. That wording gives the counselor something concrete to connect with the next role. It shows coordination, process improvement, and stakeholder communication. Ask the counselor to identify 3 categories: skills you already possess and can prove, skills you possess but describe poorly, and skills you genuinely need to develop. This stops you from treating a messaging problem as an education problem. Then ask, what are the biggest gaps between me and an interview for this role? Notice the wording. You are not asking whether you could theoretically perform the job someday. You are asking what prevents an employer from interviewing you now. The gap might be technical knowledge. It could also be an unclear resume, no work samples, an unfamiliar job title, weak industry vocabulary, or no visible evidence that your career change is intentional. Imagine a teacher moving into corporate training. The teacher may already know how to assess learning needs, explain complex material, manage groups, and evaluate progress. But a recruiter may not see the connection if the resume only lists classroom duties. The solution might not be another degree. It might be a sample training module, rewritten experience bullets, and conversations with people already doing the work. That leads to the most action-oriented question. Ask, what can I test this month before I commit? A career test gives you a hypothesis. A real-world experiment gives you evidence. For a possible data career, you could complete a small public data project and ask a working analyst to review it. For recruiting, you could interview 2 recruiters about their weekly tasks and practice screening sample applications. For instructional design, you could turn an existing lesson into a short workplace training sample. The test should resemble the work closely enough to teach you something. Watching videos about a career measures your interest in watching videos. It does not show whether you enjoy doing the work. Ask for a test with a deadline, an output, and feedback from someone familiar with the field. At the end, evaluate 3 things. Did you enjoy the core activity? Could you improve with practice? Did credible people see potential in the result? You should also ask, how should I compare my options without choosing based on mood? Build a simple decision table. Compare the roles on daily tasks, required training, cost, time to entry, local demand, likely starting level, schedule, compensation, and personal constraints. Do not let one exciting feature dominate the entire decision. A role may sound meaningful, but require training you cannot currently afford. Another may pay well, but involve a schedule that conflicts with caregiving. A third may be less glamorous, but offer a realistic entry point and room to grow. Finally, ask, what should I leave this session with? A useful outcome could include 3 target roles, the evidence supporting each one, the major risks, reliable research sources, 2 people to contact, and 1 experiment to complete within the next month. Be cautious if the counselor pushes one path immediately, treats an assessment like a verdict, cannot explain the evidence, ignores your financial constraints, or recommends expensive training before reviewing job requirements. Before your appointment, bring your resume, several job postings that interest you, a rough list of tasks you enjoy and dislike, your location constraints, your income needs, and an honest estimate of how much time and money you can invest. That preparation allows the conversation to move beyond generic suggestions. The best career counseling session does not produce a magical answer. It produces a better decision process. You leave with fewer assumptions, clearer evidence, and a small next step that teaches you more before you take a large risk. If you have a question about choosing or changing a career, leave it in the comments, and tell us which career decision you want covered next.